The Aviators was made possible by...
When the unexpected happens, the Lifesaver provides 1 hour of emergency attitude reference, giving you the time you need to land safely. In a mission's darkest moment, trust Mid-Continent Instruments.
Now for the first time on TV, the stories and reports of the people who fly and the aircraft they fly. And you are invited in an exciting, pulse-pumping new television series designed for everyone who has ever gazed skywards and dreamt of slipping the bonds of Earth. The Aviators.
This week on The Aviators, Aerobatic pilot Rick Volker talks to us about the crazy things he does in an airplane. Curtis learns a number of techniques for building an aircraft at home. We fly a Cessna Caravan into the picturesque town of Atlin. And we see how backup instruments could save your life. From the Boundary Bay Airport, this is The Aviators.
You'd be excused if you thought that this aircraft was a $600,000 factory-built aircraft. This Lancer ES is produced in kit format and sold to builders constructed home with their own engine, interior, and instruments. For less than half the price of a factory new aircraft, you can have an aircraft like this that takes a family of 4 across the country at speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour. We're going to show you some of the skills necessary to build an aircraft like this at home.
The tradition of building airplanes at home goes back to some of the earliest aviation pioneers. Many of today's leading aircraft manufacturers can trace their roots to aircraft built in a garage or barn. Today, home building continues to be a very popular way to get in the air. Mostly sold in kits, you can find everything from home-built helicopters, to ultralights, to all-composite flying boats. While some of these may seem fairly advanced, with the proper tools, a big enough garage, and a lot of time, building an aircraft is within the reach of most pilots. Our own Curtis Arnold stopped into a builder's workshop at a recent fly-in, where he was shown a number of the techniques necessary for building your own aircraft. First up was learning to construct a wooden wing.
Ever since the Wright brothers, people have been building aircraft out of wood. In fact, myself at home, I'm still constructing an aircraft out of wood. We're here with Art Wazak and Jim Scroggins, who are working on this peat and pole wing. So Jim, the first question I'd like to know about is, are there special kinds of woods that you need to use when you're building airplane parts?
Well, you need to use stick of spruce, and you can also use Douglas fir. And the ribs can be made out of red cedar, about anything, because all they do is keep the fabric apart.
A traditional wooden aircraft wing has a number of distinct parts. The spars are thick wooden supports that run the full length of the wing. The spars have to be very strong as they carry the majority of the aerodynamic load that's put on the wings. Most small aircraft wings will only have 1 or 2 spars. Forming the actual shape of the wing is the job of the ribs.
Now it looks like somebody get a lot of practice building these ribs here, because it looks like a lot of identical pieces that go into an airplane.
And you get your plans, they'll give you a full-size rib, and you got to lay it out on a board, and then you put these blocks wherever you need to put them to hold the wood in place. And after you get this in, then you can lay all the pieces in, cut all the wood first, and then put the gussets on. You can either nail them or staple them.
Perfect. And so you put the rib together and you glue it up and you staple it, and you said you come back the next day, and then what do you do?
Come back the next day, you can pull it out of the jig, start at one end or the other, lay it aside, lay up the next one, and then when you get that laid up and stapled, then you can take the other jig and put the gussets on that one. So you can make a rib a night, or if you got 2 jigs, you can make 2 ribs a night. So about a month or so, you'll have all the ribs.
Once the spars and ribs are assembled, the wooden frame is then covered in fabric. One of the advantages of using wood is that it can be shaped and manipulated fairly easily. Jerry Hand showed Curtis just how easily a wooden propeller can be formed.
We make wooden propellers because they are relatively inexpensive, and it's been around for a long time.
So it looks like with this machine, you're taking what looks like a very nice propeller blade and using that to make another propeller. How does that work?
This is a duplicating machine. It copies the existing shape of a propeller or a pattern that I have here, simply by using a router bit that turns very fast and carves out the wood in the same pattern as the shape over here.
While wooden wings and propellers are very common, aluminum and other metals are the predominant materials used in home-built aircraft. Companies such as Zenith or Vans ship their aluminum aircraft kits in pre-cut, pre-punched, and in some cases pre-drilled pieces. These pieces are then joined together using a pneumatic rivet gun and metal rivets. Home builder Frank Baldwin helped Curtis try his hand at riveting.
So you can see that there's a dimple in the end of the rivet gun that matches the radius or the convex surface of the rivet. And you've got, what do you got there?
This is the bucking bar. It adds weight, and you have to have more pressure on this side than the back side. So let me hold this for you and
right, so
pull the trigger when you're ready. And I have them lined up here. That looks good.
So you're in good shape, aren't you?
So you can see the head looks exactly like it did when we put it in. And on the other side, we've mashed the rivet so that it's spread out and filled the hole.
This simple process is repeated over and over again, and a home builder would have to complete hundreds or thousands of these to complete an aluminum aircraft. Another method of constructing aircraft is using composite materials. This method was made popular in the late 1980s by Burt Rutan designs such as the Very Ease. Composite construction may seem complex and even scary to some people. However, as Curtis found out, it's actually quite simple.
Composite is basically, for real keep it simple, is taking two unrelated materials and putting them together to make a structure out of them.
So what we're looking at here then, I guess, is the filler material that's been carved out to shape.
Yes.
Some type of a web that's been put in to add some structural strength.
Yeah, this is actually the spar for the main wing right here. It's a C-spar, and that's also made with fiberglass cloth. It's a special made cloth for building spars, but it's the same chemically as this cloth here that we use for the skin.
And the whole thing's covered over with skin, and you paint on a number of layers of the epoxy. And then how do you get this really nice smooth finish?
Well, this happens to be done with what we call peel ply, which is a piece of Dacron that, as the product is still wet, we'll take and put it over the top and wet that out too. And then when this all cures, we'll peel it off. When it peels off, it'll leave a nice, even layered surface on it.
Regardless of the techniques used, the majority of home builders begin with either a kit, aircraft plans, or the help of organizations such as the Experimental Aircraft Association. Kit building companies offer these aircraft in various stages of construction. With some, you simply have to put on the wings. With others, you may find yourself using all of these techniques in building the aircraft piece by piece. This isn't a quick process, and the average home-built aircraft can take anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 hours to construct. The payoff, however, is not just getting into the air, but knowing all the hard work and determination it took to get you there.
The Aviators, for everyone who has ever gazed skywards.
For more information on today's segments, visit www.theaviators.tv.